Kendrick Lamar is Edgar Allan Poe. Let's get into it. Kendrick embodied many spirits during the tumultuous diss battle with the then critically acclaimed rapper Aubrey Graham, also publicly known as Drake. However, the sheer calculated ferocity of Kendrick's methods of attack were taken straight from the methodologies of Sun Tzu and the warriors of Valhalla. But the strategy used is one that was immortalized by Edgar Allan Poe himself, particularly in one of his famous short stories, The Cask of Amontillado. Published originally in November of 1846, the story tells of a wealthy man recounting the events in which he carried out the ultimate revenge, all against a man named Fortunato. Years later, I'm just now realizing that his name literally means fortunate in Italian, which is ironic because the story is explicitly about how his fortune runs out. It's kind of like writing a story about killing a guy named Lucky. I just thought that was kind of funny. Back to the video. In the story, the protagonist, Montresor, lures Fortunato deep into his family's catacombs, where he ultimately buries him alive.
Well, there it is.
Let's compare our two scenarios, shall we? Using lyrics from the diss battle, as well as direct quotes from the Cask of Amontillado. Take my hand, we're going on a journey. The great diss battle of 2024 revealed many things, and ultimately revealed to the public that Kendrick had been carefully plotting Drake's downfall over the course of about 14 years. Drake was an insult to hip-hop culture, black culture, and to Kendrick himself. But Kendrick, in good faith, ultimately took the hits until the one day his rival crossed the line he could never come back from. We use an example from the Cask of Amontillado. The first line, actually. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. K-Dot's ultimate mission was to destroy Drake in the slowest and most agonizing way possible, all while keeping his own hands completely clean.
It's supposed to be a good exhibition within the game, but you fucked up the moment you called out my family's name.
We take again from the Cask of Amontillado. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. Now we have important vocabulary words here. We have impunity, unredressed, and retribution. Now what do those words mean? Impunity means exemption from punishment. So he's saying, I must not only punish, but I must punish so hard that I walk away scot-free. We continue. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. I know that's a lot of syllables we are, but we're going to break it down. Unredressed means a wrong that has not been corrected. Justice needs to be served in order for something to be redressed. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. Now, what does retribution mean? Retribution, punishment that one deserves for a wrong that has been committed. He's basically saying, I gotta get away with this scot-free because justice is not served when the avenger suffers consequences. It is also unjust when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. If I don't make you feel every ounce of vengeance that is within my veins, the wrong that you've done, there will be no justice until you feel exactly how you made me feel.
I try to empathize with you, cause I know that you ain't been through nothing. Crave entitlement, but wanna be like so bad that it's puzzling. The skin that you living in is compromised in personas. Can't channel your masculine even when standing next to a woman. Take that mask off, I wanna see what's under them achievements. Why believe you? You never gave us nothing to believe in. You lied about your son, you lied about your daughter, huh? You lied about them other kids that's out there hoping that you come. You lied about the only artist that can offer you some help. Fuck a rap battle, this a long life battle with yourself.
That is the ultimate vengeance. known to man. Kendrick ultimately lured Drake into a false sense of security while simultaneously plotting his demise until it was time to strike. We have another quote from the Cask of Amontillado. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, now at the thought of his immolation. We have another word here, immolation. Immolation, killing, destroying, or offering something as a sacrifice, particularly through fire. I just did a whole video addressing this very quote. Take a look at it. It's called Kendrick was inspired by Disney when making Meet the Grams. You should really check it out. It would give you a lot of insight on this scenario right here and why the word immolation is so important.
I'm sorry that I live a boring life. I love peace, but war ready if the world is ready to see you bleed.
So that's the third time that fire has come up in the Kendrick versus Drake conversation. Kendrick cleverly baits Drake and uses his biggest weakness, his pride, against him. Throughout the diss battle, Kendrick sat aside quietly while Drake rattled on and on and on and put diss track after diss track, flaunting his money, his wealth, his connections, begging, taunting, jeering at Kendrick to come out of the shadows and play. People were waiting with bated breath. They were excited about the diss battle, I get it, but there were a lot of people that were clowning Kendrick because of this. They were really giving him a hard time because he waited so long to respond. And now those same people understand exactly why he did it. But me, during that time, I wasn't worried. Like I said, I grew up reading shit like Edgar Allen Poe and Flowers for Algernon, Of Mice and Men, Lord of the Flies. When he sat back after he put out Like That, and then he sat behind the shadows, I immediately picked up on that. I was like, I wonder if you're gonna build up suspense. And then a quote came to mind. Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. And that is a quote penned by Napoleon Bonaparte, the single biggest conqueror in all of history, second only to Alexander the Great. So I sat back and I observed, and sure enough, he came out with Euphoria, and Euphoria was the warning shot. It was simultaneously the kill shot and the warning shot. And I expected Drake to heed the warning. No, he didn't. He did not. It genuinely felt like a Rocky situation with, Rocky going up against Ivan Drago. He underestimates him because of his size and because he grew up in the streets. He underestimated him, and it was the Aladdin thing where he was a diamond in the rough, but everybody thought he was a worthless street rat. He underestimated his opponent, which is the first rule in a battle. Never underestimate your opponent, and never turn your back on your opponent either. Honestly, Drake did all of these. He really did. Which leads me into my next point. Drake, in his boastful hubris, makes himself look like a fool over and over again during the rap beef, much like how a jester makes himself look like a fool to entertain a king's court. Case in point, he uses AI Tupac's voice in Tailor Made to taunt Kendrick, practically begging him to drop because he's impatient and he's riding off of the high of his own success.
Talk about him like a young girl, that's a gift for me. All that shit about burning tattoos, he's not amused. That's jail talk for real thugs, you gotta be you.
I heard that one of them little kids might be day free. Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. They hired a crisis management team to clean up the fact that you beat on your queen.
Which is poetic, because Drake was so caught up in his own euphoria that he was blind to see that he had already lost the battle. He lost 3 moves ago, but because he got so caught up in his hubris, he makes the inevitable mistake of going too far, of playing the wrong hand, and it ultimately cost him the victory. Quote from the story: "He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much," he being Fortunato in this scenario. "The man wore motley," which is a jester's outfit. "He had on a tight-fitting party-striped dress, and his head was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand." So here we have Fortunato dressed literally in fool's garb and Montresor, the man who would ultimately be his demise, so thrilled to see that he's walked right into his trap. I imagine him grinning from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat. We move on. Kendrick stays quiet until it's his time to clap back, and he even tries to help Drake in a last-ditch effort to save him, knowing full well of his inevitable doom.
We ain't gotta get personal, this a friendly fate, you should keep it that way. It's time that you look around on who's around you. Before you figure that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do. Therapy's a lovely start, but I suggest some ayahuasca, strip the ego from the bottom.
Quote from the story, "My friend, no, it is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. We will go back. Your health is precious. You're rich, respected, admired, beloved. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Come, we will go back, ere it is too late. Your cough," to which he is then cut off by Fortunato in his drunken anger. Here we have 3 instances in which Montressor tries to save Fortunato from his inevitable doom. We, the audience, know that he's playing it up to keep his hands clean. But Fortunato, so drunk and so merry and so high off of his own hubris that he forces Montressor to press forward, thus sealing his own fate. We all know that it was Montressor that blocked that, ultimately was his doom, but in much of a way that making a deal with the devil is sealing your fate. You can blame it on the Montressor, but at the end of the day, it was still Fortunato's decision, inebriated or not. And back then, they said that alcohol was the portal to the soul. They called it truth serum back then. They said a drunken mind speaks a sober heart. We continue. Kendrick completes the mission he started so long ago in Buried Alive, obliterating Drake's credibility as a rapper forever. The conclusion of the story ends with Montressor leading Fortunato down into his family's catacombs underneath his estate. He chains the man to the wall and begins building up the wall piece by piece until he has ultimately sealed Fortunato within the grave. Montressor literally buried his rival alive, completing the mission that Kendrick stated in what song? Buried Alive. You hear that? The sounds of your minds being utterly blown. It comes full circle. The circle has been complete. Poetic justice has officially been served. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. I just wanted to give you my thought process on this. If you liked the video, go ahead and slap that like button, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more. And as always, I have been Nixus, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Take care. I want to give a special shout out to my members, Tasha Shea, Prozac War, One Wildflower 93, and Sweet Cookies. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, and I promise I will make it worth your while. If you guys want to see your names up here, go ahead and subscribe and become a member. I will put your name at the end of every video, and I will give you guys a special shout out. Take care.